Coming up on First Look Asia, finding romance after 40. If you are above 40, single and still looking, stick around and get some tips on how to make the right moves from a dating expert.
Many smart, modern women today have taken control over their lives, achieving significant milestones in their careers and living independent lifestyles. But when it comes to finding Mr. Right, many of them struggle, says dating expert Anisa Hassan. Anisa has recently published a new e-book, a Stressless Dating Solution, and in it she discusses dating challenges faced by successful older women and provides tips on managing the stress of dating. Anisa is right here with us this morning to tell us all about it. Anisa, thanks so much for coming in. Stressless Dating Solution. Tell us what prompted you to sort of come out with this sort of a book.
Well, it was 10 years in the making. I've been running the dating agency for 10 years, and I realized that the same theme keeps popping up every time I meet women. They're very stressful, you know, they go through a lot of strain and struggle when they go through the dating phase. And these are smart, successful women that we are talking about. So why are they not catching a break or not having any kind of breakthroughs when it comes to finding Mr. Right? So what I did was, I came out with this book. It's a culmination of 10 years of case studies of some of the mistakes that they have made and some of the solutions that have been provided to get them to date better and cope better with the stresses of dating.
So when you talk about the stresses, are you saying that they're stressed that they meet someone and even going through that dating, by going through that dating process, that it's going to turn out to be a failed relationship? Or what is it that's stressing them out?
What's stressing them out is the expectations. What's going to happen to them? Who are these people that they're going to be meeting? Are these men going to like them back? They have achieved a certain level of success in their career. Are they going to meet their match? So it's playing in their heads over and over, and sometimes it's too stressful for them to do anything, so they decide to do nothing about it.
Is that what you find? Is that like one of the common things, like it's almost like a defense mechanism that women sort of then take themselves out of the game, put it like that?
Sometimes it is like that, because I think two things happen. The social environment is such that there's this concept of marriageable age, and it has been drummed into them that as long as you have passed that 35-year age mark, it's going to get harder and harder. To some extent it's true, but at the same time I have had a lot of successful people getting into relationships in their late 30s, 40s, and even 50s. So it's what you want to do about the situation that you're in that will help you achieve what you want out of a relationship.
I like that you focus on managing the stress, though, and by managing your stress you're more likely to be able to find a suitable partner. Would you agree with that? Tell us some of the techniques that you use to manage the stress.
Right, so what I've come up with in this book is a technique called emotional freedom technique. It is a technique that was implemented by an American engineer, can you believe that? In the early 80s, and it is basically a relief and a stress relief technique to help people in general cope better with their emotional and physical stress. So I use this to implement the same technique among the women who come to me and tell me how stressful it is for them to be in the dating, to be in the dating game. So what it does is that it is actually a combination of Chinese acupressure with Western psychology. And how we do it is, there are 8 meridian points on our faces and our body that we tap on to ensure that we remove some of the energy blocks that are in the way, and that's giving off a lot of negative vibes when we are in the company of people. So when you're stressed, the energy that you give off is something that sometimes you just don't feel attractive about. It gives off the energy of desperation, or awkwardness and wanting a certain outcome.
So how can that lead to finding the right person for you?
When you're less stressed and when you're stepping away from the confusion, there's clarity. And that's what we want to evoke. So helping them stress less, there will be stresses because when you are looking for a certain outcome, there's always the fear that you'll be falling short. So you're going to help help yourself to stress less and give off the right kind of energy, the right kind of signal, and you're more relaxed. And when you're relaxed, you attract the right kind of people to find out more about you, you know?
I always think with relationships, like, they always say be yourself, which is like, where do you go with that? But, the harder you look, the harder it is to find. And surely it's almost better to not look and not think about it and just think about yourself. And is that part of it as well? Because you mentioned removing all the sort of outward stresses and just focusing on yourself being relaxed, and then that will attract people to you.
When you're giving off the right kind of energy, good things happen. You know, a lot of people have read the law of attraction, right? But what you resist persists. So we don't want to be in the space where you're resisting a lot of things out there, but you want to be attracting the right kind of people, the right kind of energy into your space, into your circle. So the calmer you are, the better you are at sussing out who are the better options out there for you.
I thought it was interesting, you know, a moment ago you're saying people, when they hit the sort of 40 mark, then they start getting a bit worried, and a lot of them take themselves out of the dating game altogether. And actually, according to the demographics of your client base, women over 40 make up only 35% of total female clients, and for men it's 60%. Because you would have thought that maybe women, particularly getting older, would be in more of a rush to get into the dating game and, you know, find their partner, but that doesn't seem to be the case. What do these figures suggest to you, do you think?
That's the irony of dating, isn't it? You know, the men tend to be more attractive as they get older, and the men and the women write themselves off or rule themselves out. They opt out, generally because of the belief that they have passed their prime. So,
is that particularly in Asia?
No, not necessarily. It's worldwide, you know, but the dating culture is more pervasive in the West than it is in Asia. So, you know, women tend to still, you know, go out there, make friends, have fun, even in their 40s and 50s when you're in, you know, in a Western kind of culture environment. Whereas in Asia, the context is such that, you know, I think it's not a good idea for you to be putting yourself out there when you are in your 40s or 50s. So they self-censor themselves and they opt themselves out. So this is where I come in and say, look, you know, there's a lot of opportunities out there if you know where to look and if you know how to, you know, set your mind in the right direction and, you know, be cool about going out there and finding the right man.
Aside from sort of handling stress, what's the other advice you give to people in that situation?
In that situation, we examine their beliefs. You know, what caused them to feel that there's no more men out there for them? What makes them believe that, you know, they do not deserve to be out there in the dating world? So that's when the tapping helps, because we go into different layers and we examine their beliefs, why they think that, you know, men are out there only for one thing, or, you know, men are all the same, men are only after looks. You know, there must be something, a historical, you know, episode or event that made them feel that way. So we look at that and we try to analyze whether it's, you know, a belief that is actually limiting themselves from having any progress in their dating life.
Many would argue that those three beliefs are in fact true.
Men would argue.
What do you make of online dating?
I think it's a great way for, you know, both men and women to meet people, and I think more and more women are quietly, especially in their late 30s or early 40s, are quietly entering the online dating scene because they feel that, you know, it is just another avenue for them, because, you know, the general way of meeting people are seen as reserved only for the young ones. Men love online dating. Somebody who's single would love online dating because there's that power of anonymity. And for the women, they just want to see who else is out there, you know. But there are also a lot of, on the flip side, there are also a lot of stories of, you know, horror stories of being scammed or meeting people who are not who they seem to be out there. So, but it is an alternative that everybody you know, who's single should consider, because it just opens up the possibilities and opportunities for you. But, you know, take your brains with you, take your, you know, take your heart, but and also brains with you when it comes to meeting people for the first time.
Okay, if you got one piece of advice, what would you say?
For the women?
Yes.
For the women is, don't count yourself out too soon, because I think there are a lot of opportunities, and surround yourself with positive people because or positive friends who are going to move you in the right direction, because the basic need of every human being is to be with somebody. So don't write yourself off too quickly just because it's been too tough or it's been challenging. It hasn't worked so far, because part of getting the result is also taking on the risk.
Yes, all about risk, isn't it? Thank you so much for coming and
You're
speaking
most
with us
welcome.
today. That was dating expert Anisa Hassan talking about finding love after 40. On that note, we are